All right, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And today we have a special guest on the podcast. We got my guy Jack, and Jack is actually the newest coach for Level Up Transformation. So super pumped to have you on, Jack.
Thank you. Thank you. Me too.
Cool. So I thought we can just start off with a little intro. Where you're from, kind of what got you into fitness.
Yeah. So originally I'm from a small town in Connecticut called Madison. And what really got me into fitness was back when I was 15, 16, the typical 130, 140 pound kid that wanted to do more, like didn't feel like I was doing enough. And I went from 0 to 100. I had a little moped and I just was going at 4 a.m. before school every day. And I just took it out in that. And then it really just became my therapy and like needing to go to just like clear my head. And that's what pretty much got me into it. Just wanted to push myself and do more. And then I just fell in love with it and just kept pushing myself. And yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I was kind of similar. I came from more of the, overweight, trying to lose weight side of things, but a lot of it, the mindset is the same. Just like you start and you get just kind of hooked on the small wins. And then the more results you see, the more you want to keep going and keep going and keep going. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. So obviously you started out on, the smaller side looking to gain weight. I guess like what was some of the biggest struggles you had and kind of like what got you past that essentially?
The biggest struggle was like gaining the wrong kind of weight. Like I always tell people to like focus on still eating clean foods and a surplus and not like dirty bulk. Like dirty bulking is a super popular thing. And you're just going to gain a bunch of excess fat. And that's what I did once for 6 months. And it just didn't gain as much progress as I could have when just keeping my diet clean and in that surplus. So the biggest thing I would say is keep your diet clean and in that surplus, and you'll gain way less fat and you'll be in a better spot. That's the biggest thing I struggled with when I was trying to gain weight, is gaining bad weight, which definitely stick to clean foods.
100%. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of guys, especially who are looking to gain weight, focus a lot on just the scale and like gaining as much weight as possible. Where in reality, it's like, I feel like in order to look good, you don't even need a crazy amount of weight. It's just like putting on muscle, especially in the right areas. I'm sure you can kind of say the same. Like if you just add a little bit of muscle to like even just your shoulders and back, like you're going to have that V taper that makes you look bigger. Throw in some like upper chest and incline, get that up. Next thing you know, you're wearing a collared shirt, you look like you lift. So the slower, lean bulking approach is definitely the way to go. Cause like, there was a time where I was bulked up. I was probably like, I don't know, 200 pounds. Like I had muscle, but I just had all this fat and like I didn't fit well in my clothes and like it wasn't really what I was going for. So yeah, but cool. Yeah, man. I guess obviously you're into coaching now. What kind of got you from just like having a passion for fitness to actually being like, hey, I want to help other people?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it in that sentence. You hear the saying, like, turn your passion into your work and business, and you won't work a day in your life. And that was kind of the mindset that got me into it. And because I'm already doing all this anyways, and I knew I could help people, and I was helping people all the time on the side, and I was like, why don't I just turn this into something I could pursue and truly help people? So you kind of said it.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I was kind of the same thing. It was already a passion of mine. I remember I'd be, especially like during COVID, it was like Zoom class, right? And I had two monitors. I'd be in the Zoom class, and the second monitor, I'd be like writing all my friends' like workout plans. Like it was just something I like doing. And then got to a point where I'm like, how can I help more people and do it in also a way where they have accountability? Because I'm sure you kind of know, like you could give someone a plan, but if they don't have accountability, they don't know how to actually stay consistent. It's like, unless they're really disciplined, they're probably not going to get the results. Where if, for example, you do like coaching, right? You not only get the plan, but you get someone actually making sure like every week you're actually moving towards your goal. And if you screw up, it doesn't drag on. You can be like, all right, like, what caused you to do that? How can we change that so that next week you're on track? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. That one-on-one accountability source is what really helps people, because they say this in every business, like the information's already out there. Like you can learn anything nowadays, but that one-on-one aspect, especially anywhere, and having a 24/7 communication with any questions or things you're going through that you typically wouldn't be able to just go to someone right away, that's definitely a key factor of accountability and getting that momentum to see progress.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things like, it might have been like Alex Hormozy who says this, but like you can pay with either like time or money, right? It's like you can try and figure it out on your own, and I'm sure you can get far. But like if you want the best results from experience, like find someone who has gotten your results and then have them teach you how to do it. It's kind of like the approach that I've had, obviously with fitness, both of us with business now too. So Yeah, I mean, that's definitely great. Have you ever like done any like programs or anything yourself, or you kind of just been like self taught, I guess?
So yeah, I've never like paid for a coach, but I was always like talking to big guys in the gym and just building that networking system and always learning. Like I think you can agree with this. You're always going to be learning. Like it's never going to be like you just hit it, you know everything. Like every day I'm in the gym and talking with new guys and learning new exercises and learning what's better for this and what's better for that. And it's kind of just like an ongoing thing. And it's kind of connecting to like mindset and you being in that spot of like learning and pushing yourself. That's exactly where you need to be, because 10 years down the line, when you've hit all of your goals, you're still going to be in that mindset of learning and doing new things. So that's a kind of a good like mindset shift you can use like to right in that moment.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. And it's funny because like even for me, the training, I definitely got a lot of that down earlier on in the process, which is great. The nutrition, even like 2, 3 years ago, like I thought I was dialed, and looking back, I'm like, I was eating like a disaster. I don't know what I was thinking, but with the nutrition, it's like, yeah, you got like the calories and macros, but then it's like how you actually hit the calories and macros can be completely different from like different coaches and fitness people. So I think
100%.
there's always like things you can learn and apply to make your approach even better. And even like us as coaches are like, we've gotten to a good level, but it's like, I feel like all the time we're figuring out things ourselves. Like, oh, that's actually a good point. Let me implement that. So then I can actually like teach it to clients and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, as far as I know we have relatively similar philosophies around, training and nutrition, which is, definitely like one reason why I felt Jack was a pretty good fit. So I guess as far as the training goes, I guess what's your philosophy on like the main objective of your sessions? You know what I mean? Like what's like
Yeah.
your goal when you go for a lifting session?
So my goal is to break it up into segments where I can really focus on 1 to 2 muscle groups. So like I started off with push pull legs, but now I've kind of expanded into a 4 day split, so I can more focus on that muscle and still have more time to recover. And still with that philosophy of progressive overload, I think progressive overload is like the number one way to not only make sure to yourself that you're making progress in building muscle. It's the easiest telltale sign you're building muscle when you're slowly increasing that weight each month, but it's just the easiest plan to stick to. Just keep stacking weight each week, and if you're increasing that weight, you're building muscle and you're making progress. So yeah.
A lot of it's just a mindset shift, especially a lot of people that I'll talk to, who are like, maybe they're going to the gym 5, 6 times a week. They're eating clean foods and aren't seeing results. And a lot of it's just like a shift of like, all right, you got to think about like what actually builds muscle. Does eating chicken rice build muscle? Does going to the gym and lifting build muscle? Like what actually builds the muscle? And essentially it's like your body's pretty stubborn unless you actually force it to grow. And in order to do that, it's like you got to just put more attention than you've done in the past. So that's like kind of the whole progressive overload thing where it's like, you want your shoulders to get bigger, you want your chest to get bigger. You got to be, for example, like incline benching more weight consistently over time. So your body is like, that's a lot of tension. Like we're not used to that. We have to put on muscle to support that tension. You know what I mean? You want a bigger chest, you got to be putting more tension on it. And another thing too is like your body doesn't know the difference between like a barbell or like push-ups or resistance band. It's just like how much tension is put on you. So it's like, obviously the weights are one of the most efficient ways to do it, but you don't necessarily need to do the weights. Maybe if you're watching this and you're like, you're into calisthenics or you got, bands or something like that, as long as you're like just putting more stress on your muscles over time and tracking that, then that's really like what's going to get you a lot of your progress. I'm sure you kind of agree with that too, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think a big misconception in the fitness industry is that like you need weights, you need all those machines. And like, that's completely not the case. Like I went away for 3 weeks in Texas and didn't have access to a gym. And I wasn't worried at all because I just tailored a different program doing body weight things like push-ups, pull-ups. And I did eventually have like found like 15-pound dumbbells, but you can tailor workouts in your home and make just as good progress. You doing different exercises.
100%. Yeah. I think that's the main thing that it's good for people to realize that. I feel like another thing too is like, what are your thoughts on like, should you be lifting 5, 6, 7 times a week? Or is it better to like have 3 or 4 solid workouts? I guess like what has, let me rephrase that. Have you done, 6, 7 days of lifting in the past? and like what kind of made you change your training up essentially?
Yeah, that's exactly what my past has been. I originally started just hammering 6, 7 days a week because that's what your original mindset is, like, oh, just go, go, go. Like I'm gonna do this, but you're really hurting yourself. And when I was going 6, 7 days a week, I would have workouts and just not have a good workout. And when I would pull back and rest more, I would be able to hit my muscle group like at a bit higher intensity and really feel it more when I rested. And definitely 6, 7 days a week is way too much. If you're not recovering with the diet and sleep and giving time in between, you're good. You're just wasting your time pretty much because you're just gonna hurt your body.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's definitely a shift that I made too. I think the point of time where I was struggling the most, I was putting the most into fitness. I was probably lifting 5, 6 times a week, and I was doing 45 minutes to an hour cardio sessions. I was in like a deficit, and like essentially you're putting a lot of stress on your body when you do that to a point where it's like, again, it's like a mental reframe. It's like the gym is for stimulating muscle growth. It's actually built when you're recovering. So if you're never letting yourself recover properly, you're just constantly putting tension, but not like supporting the full growth capability. So I
Yeah,
think,
and this is something
yeah,
I always say to people that don't like going to the gym. I always say, I'm like, look, you're in a better position than me. Like, I hate resting, and it'll hurt me because like I'm sore and I still want to go. You don't need this amount of time in the gym. Like, you just need a couple workouts a week, and you'll be making really solid progress. Because with that solid rest, you're going to be way better off than the person just hammering every day.
100%. And even like, it's funny because this week, I don't know if I think I told you last time, but I just got a new membership to a gym in
Mhm.
like one of the coolest gyms I've been to. Like the lighting's crazy. So this week I literally did like 3 back-to-back days, which like I don't typically do that. Usually it's like a 2 day one-off type of thing.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean the progress like today, I just wasn't it wasn't the best workout because I was like just wasn't recovered going into it. As much as I would love to go and lift more, it's like it doesn't help my progress. I mean, I think just doing like 4 solid days gets me more than if I went 6. So, but yeah, I know it's a good thing to realize for a lot of people. Cool. I feel like that definitely went over a lot of the training stuff. You know, obviously progressive overload, proper recovery, things like that. What's kind of on the like nutrition side of things? I guess what's kind of your philosophy now, and has that changed over time, or has that always kind of been your method?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said earlier, when I was trying to gain weight, I originally gained bad weight because I had no idea how to eat. And I was just thinking, like, oh, calorie surplus. And I would come home and just eat whatever was in front of me and just focus on that number of calories. And that's just, if so, that's the easiest trap to fall into because, like, everyone's so focused on like your number of calories and your carbs, proteins, and fats. But it's what actually you fill those numbers with, like you said earlier, the micronutrients as well, is going to really help you.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of my problems in the past, and I see this all the time on social media, is that people originally realized like, all right, calories and macros are important, especially calories and protein. Like, you know, you could eat whatever, but if your calories are off, then you're not going to get to where you're at. Either you're not going to lose weight, or you're not going to gain weight, or essentially like your body doesn't have a lot of a reason to change if you're not in a deficit or a surplus. So a lot of people kind of get that part. For me, it's like you have the whole like I call it like anabolic diets, or like if it fits your macros, where some people kind of take it to the extreme and have all these like super like protein, low calorie foods, whether it's like the packaged stuff or I don't know. I used to rip like this French toast stuff all the time. You kind of see people doing it where it's like the low calorie bread, they put all the artificial sweeteners and the
Oh,
sugar
yeah,
free
yeah.
syrup. And like, dude, I used to do that almost every day. And like I saw results, but I just like felt like shit. 'Cause I just all the artificial sweeteners I was having just destroying my gut. I was just neglecting micronutrients. So that's kind of where I was for a while. Like my calories and macros were pretty locked in, but I was just like literally just eating for the macros. Didn't even care about micros. Was eating a lot of packaged foods, like protein bars, especially the ones with all the seed oils and everything. So I think going from that to just eating like whole foods, one, you feel better because you don't have all the inflammation from all those ingredients. But two, I feel like just when you're getting more micronutrients, you just like have more energy. Especially with me, I used to like blast caffeine. Like I was ripping so much caffeine in the past because I just like wasn't energized through my food. And now like I've probably cut my intake in half just because I don't even really need it as much. When you're eating whole foods, I feel like you just feel relatively energized most of your day. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Is that something you kind of agree with too?
Yeah, 100%. The best I feel is when I'm eating actual real whole foods like chicken, beef, and eggs, and and everyone falls into the trap of going to the gas station and buying the protein bar
Yeah.
and trying to just focus on hitting that number of protein and just getting it in the most ridiculous ways of all those like processed protein products. That's just going to make you feel terrible, and you're better off getting less protein and just focusing on like good foods like the meats I listed. And I've been through that when I just like only hyper focused on the protein number and just got it in on protein bars and just tried to fit it in, and I didn't feel good at all, and it affected my lifts. And when I switched over and really focused on and cooking myself and getting in true food that our bodies are supposed to be eating, that people were eating dozens and decades right before we were even a thing. What our bodies were supposed to be eating, meats and everything. You feel like a whole new world when everyone, like, you hear it all the time. Nobody feels good nowadays, and it's like the classic American diet. It's all fast food and
Yeah.
when you I just tell people to just clean up your diet for 1 week and focus on eating satiating nutrient dense foods, and you'll feel it's like night and day.
100%. And you brought up some really good points. The first, and this is something that I've kind of like experienced recently. I've honestly been eating less protein than I've used to, but my sources have been better. So it's like, I can get away with like not even a crazy amount of protein if it's from red meat, eggs, chicken, Greek yogurt. Where back when I was having all the protein bars and the protein shakes, I felt like I just needed a lot more protein to get the same results. So I don't know if that's something you've kind of found where it's like personally, like, I share my macros and people are like, dude, like your protein isn't like, I mean, I eat, maybe like zero point 0.8 times my body weight or sometimes 0.9. But everyone else is like, dude, like I'm eating 1.5 times my body weight. And I'm just like, dude, if you're eating like good protein sources, that's like, you don't really need a crazy amount. But I'm curious if that's something you've kind of found too.
No, 100%. I've definitely found that. And I've definitely fallen into that trap myself. And I could definitely say on the weeks that I've been getting in my protein with bad just protein products, and the date on the weeks that I didn't get as much protein but whole foods, I would argue I felt better and made even more progress. It's definitely the consistency of eating real food over just shoving in protein bars.
100%. Cool. And then I guess one last thing on the whole protein thing, bro, everybody's like has something against eggs, dude. I know both of us are ripping egg. Sometimes I'll even just post like just me eating like 6 eggs, being like, yeah, I'm just having like a light snack. And people are like,
Yeah.
oh, the egg yolk is gonna like clog your arteries or something. But what people need to realize is like an egg yolk is just literally one of the most micronutrient dense foods. It's got cholesterol. And if you're a dude, like cholesterol is actually what causes you to build testosterone. Essentially, if you eat more egg yolks, eat more like healthy cholesterol, then you're going to have better hormones, better testosterone, and it's going to be easier to build muscle. That's kind of the way that I thought about it. So I guess, do you kind of agree with that too?
100% agree with that. I would be doing the same thing, eating over 6 eggs a day, and the people around me are like, "What are you doing? That's not healthy," and all this. But they're the people eating ice cream and
Yeah.
doing completely other things, and I'm just like, you can keep doing what you're doing, but eggs eggs is definitely the best foods for like nutrient dense and easy to make. I eat them all the time, and also just recently, the government just completely switched on their point of view on it used to be eggs are bad and now they're good, and then the price is
Yeah.
right when they switched over. And for decades, they've gone back and forth on whether they're good or bad, which just shows how like it's not like 100% answer to like the public and what the public says. But yeah,
Yeah, 100%. It's funny how that happens. But
yeah.
yeah, so guys, eat your eggs if you're watching this. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we definitely covered a lot of training, nutrition. When it comes to actually staying consistent or staying motivated or just having a good mindset towards the gym, has there anything you've done or recommend on how people can like actually stay more consistent, stay motivated, would you say?
I think the easiest way for me to stay consistent and for people around me and people I'm coaching to stay consistent is being on a plan that they know if they stick to, and like the actual systems behind it, whether that's meal prepping for the week every 3 or 4 days, or the night before, knowing exactly what I'm going to eat. For the longest time, I would go on my fitness pal before I sleep and track everything I know I'm going to eat tomorrow. And it's kind of like a fail proof system because I'm not waking up and I'm like, don't know my plan. I'm like, just eating whatever. I already know exactly my plan, what I'm going to eat. And it kind of makes it impossible to backtrack your progress because you're going into your day exactly knowing what you need to do. And a lot of people lose progress and just fall off track because they're not planning. And planning is like the biggest thing, especially with nutrition. If you're not like going to the store on Sundays and getting into the routine of buying good foods and knowing like 3, 4 solid meals you can make and knowing what you're going to track for the day, you're going to easily fall off track. I mean, I've fallen into the trap of the same thing. If I don't plan out and know what I'm going to eat, it's so easy to fall off track. So that's definitely the best thing I could say is just track the future and know what you're going to eat. And same thing goes for training.
100%. Yeah, I could totally agree with that, especially nutrition wise. Like one thing that has really helped me is just I even tell this to everybody, like just plan ahead, have an idea of what you're going to have when you're going into the day. And it's definitely easier during the week. I feel like weekends is, if anything, when this is the most important because it's very easy for people to like, Saturday comes, you just completely lose your restraint. You're eating just whatever you want. Then, a lot of people factor in like alcohol and things like that. And then it's just like super easy to be in a massive surplus by the end of the day. Most of the time, a lot of that food is just not the best. So you probably don't even feel great after too. So I think one thing that has been really helpful, especially if you're trying to keep a lean body fat percentage, is really just like thinking ahead and being like, all right, realistically, what am I going to have for lunch and dinner? If you're going to go out to a restaurant, having some sort of a budget of like how many calories realistically can I have here? And then if you're going to drink, obviously stick to low calorie options. But then the same thing, like if you're going to eat something after, don't let your 2 a.m. drunk version of yourself make those decisions. You should know, like before you go out, have something waiting for you. I think that's something too. So planning ahead has definitely been very important for myself. I think everyone can benefit from that. That's a really good point. I think the second thing, as far as the training, and I'm sure you can agree with this too, having visual proof of your progress is like a game changer because if you can, for example, you're tracking your lifts, right? You see you're getting stronger, then you're like hyped up and you want to keep going to the gym and keep getting more stronger. You know what I mean? So a lot of people, I'm like, if there's literally one thing you can do, just start tracking your workouts because then you actually know if your program is working or not. What sucks is when you go into the gym and you're like, dude, I don't even know if I'm making progress. And I'm just like, are you tracking your progress? And most people are like, no. So yeah, and those are two good points. I'm sure you probably agree with that last one too, right?
Yeah, definitely tracking your progress, your lifts. I mean, same thing. It's pretty similar to progress photos and like people that are around me, like first getting into the gym, and I'm like, just trust me, like take progress photos. And they're like, no, no, no. And then they do. And then 3, 4 months down the line, they've been consistent. They're like, oh my gosh, like look at this before and after. Like, and they wouldn't have seen the progress they've made if they didn't have that photo side by side. Because even if you're on point for 3, 4 months, without that before picture, you're always gonna see the same person and not fully see the amount of progress you've made without that before picture. So it's definitely important to track everything and document everything so you can look back.
100%. Yeah. I think the progress pictures is huge too. Even like at the very minimum, a starting progress picture when you start. Cause like then even if you literally are not taking any progress pictures, but you have that one picture and 6 months later, you can side by side, then it's like very easy to see, like, did I actually make progress? Obviously, the more frequent you take pictures, the more feedback you have. So getting in the habit of doing weekly or monthly or whatever works for you is definitely important. But yeah, I think the more progress you have, the more visual proof you have of if your program is working. So I think that's a great point. And I guess just for some kind of just, basic value for some people. Let's say someone's watching this and they're like just getting into fitness. Maybe they just got a gym membership. They've been in the gym a couple of times. What's kind of like your advice for that person of how should they start their journey essentially?
My go-to answer would be that it's super easy to fall into the trap of you needing to be perfect on your diet and training to make progress. Just start with the small things And like people that can't gain any momentum, I just say like just focus on a little bit of protein and work your way up. And that's really the biggest thing, is that you don't need to be perfect on your training and diet to make progress. And starting and being a little choppy on everything and just slowly improving everything is way better than just putting it off because you don't know how to perfectly train and perfectly diet yourself. But trial and error in everything really, but it really definitely pertains to this, is like a key factor.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree. And not being afraid of failure too is definitely important. You're going to try things out. Some things aren't going to work. The things that do, you stick with them and you keep building on that. But I think just understanding like no one just like goes to the gym, gets jacked, and then is like, all right, I'm done. It's like it's a long-term thing. Like you gotta enjoy the process too and have a strategy for how you can make it a long-term thing. So I think that's definitely pretty important for sure. But yeah, and then I guess for the people who maybe they got busy work schedules, right? They try to get to the gym, maybe they just don't know what they're doing, but they're trying to figure out like how to actually get results, even though maybe they can get, only 2 or 3 workouts a week. What's kind of your advice for that person?
I think that 2 to 3 workouts a week is a great spot to be in. I mean, 2 to 4 is like the golden spot to be in, because if you keep that intensity up and truly hit those workouts with high intensity with your diet on point, not on point, but a good nutrition plan to keep you seeing progress, you're in a great spot, because your body is getting a lot of rest, and with high intensity workouts, you're definitely able to see progress. And that's the other big misconception, is that people who have super busy schedules, like you're saying, and worried that they don't have every day to go to the gym, and that's completely okay. If in fact you're better off resting a few days a week, like I've said multiple times, and with high intensity on those few days a week, you're in a golden spot.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny too, because there was a time in 2023 where this was back when I wasn't full time. I had a full time job, and then I was coming home and trying to run a business and take calls. And like, I genuinely just did not have the time to work out a lot. And I probably got by doing like 2 or 3 lifts a week for probably months. And during that time, I actually made some pretty ridiculous progress, because the times that I was actually in the gym, I had everything down to a T. Like I knew what lifts I had to hit. I knew like the weight and reps, and I was actually fully recovered. So it wasn't that hard to still kind of hit PRs. So I think people need to realize you shouldn't make being busy a thing that deters you from the gym, right? Because literally, if you can get in twice, you can see results. 3 times, even better. 4 times, you're going to crush it, right? And another thing too is like, part of it's a mindset shift, where it's a lot of people tend to push it off. Like, oh, I'll start when I'm less busy. And the thing with this, and I'm sure you can agree with this too, is like, you got to understand you're always going to be busy. You might have a period of, a couple of weeks you're not as busy, but then you're going to get busy again, right? And if you don't learn how to stay on track with your fitness, habits and routine when you're busy, then every time you get busy again, you're going to fall off, right? If you do wait for the right time and you start seeing results, then you're going to get busy. You're not equipped to stay in the gym when you're busy, so you're going to fall off. So that's why I kind of like to tell people, if anything, if you can make it work, if you can start when you're busy, then when you're not busy, you're going to crush it, right? And I'm sure you can kind of say the same thing, where you shouldn't let busy schedule hold you back.
Yeah, 100%. That kind of brings back to like finding the systems and routines that are going to make you the most consistent in progress over time. And like some people can get away with eating like three bowls of just chicken and rice, like super like stapled meals like every day, and just never changing it for 6 months. And if that's the only way they can make progress, sure. Some people, like 80% they're on their diet and 20% off, and that's like the only way they can do it, but they can do it for 8 months. That's way better than the person that's going to be completely on their diet for 2 days and then just falling off their diet for a week. And that's why like finding that in between of you being able to slowly keep being consistent without completely falling off for a long period of time, whether that's being 80-90% of your nutrition and training, like you're way better off doing that than being busy and just completely falling off everything.
100%. I totally agree with that. But cool. I guess I got a couple more questions that I'm thinking. I guess one of them could be, are there any like exercises that are your go-to, like you feel like they're essentially like one of the biggest bang for your buck for your results, would you say?
I think, I mean, A lot of people struggle for like growing chest, and I always say like focus on, I'm sure you hear it all the time, but focus on upper chest, like incline movements and fly incline movements. And a lot of people struggle with growing their arms, biceps and triceps, and the biggest thing that helped me with that is incorporating an arm day. And obviously push pull legs is great, but I saw the most progress in my arms growth when I dedicated a day to my arm day and just really focused on my bicep and tricep and put in all my intensity. And that's also another thing that made me think of, it's kind of just like a tip. It's really easy to like on push pull legs, you're always like starting with chest and ending with tries like for like 5 months. And you're always going to be neglecting a little bit on tries and getting your full attention on chest with higher intensity, and same for back and buys. So I definitely switch it every few weeks and start with what you usually end with, because you're going to have the highest intensity starting off and your intensity and energy is going to go down. So I definitely switch it every few weeks, and you're going to see a lot of progress doing that and not neglect other muscle groups.
100%. Yeah, I think it's good to kind of to realize that. First of all, your order of exercises is a massive factor because let's say you're hitting arms last every push day, or if you're doing an upper body day, typically you're probably hitting the chest, shoulders, back, and then your arms, right? So being like, all right, finding a way to tweak your program where you can do arms earlier in the exercise or early in the workout, that can only like speed things up because I mean, if you're doing bicep curls when you're completely fresh, you're probably going to be able to curl more. Same with the triceps. I think that's definitely a good point. I mean, there's a lot of ways to play around with it, but understanding like, first of all, like what your weak points are, finding the lagging muscle groups, and then finding a way to like put that earlier in your workout routine, or maybe changing your routine to make room for that can definitely be very helpful. And even going to like the push workouts, like you're saying, one thing that has really helped me is at a certain point separating your chest and your shoulders. Like you said, if you're always doing chest first, then shoulders, right? You know, bench or incline, then shoulder press. Your shoulder press is always going to be fatigued going into it. So literally one switch you can make is like take your shoulder day and add it to a different day of the week. And, you know, you can literally start the workout for your push day with like an incline bench press. And then you can start your shoulder day with a shoulder press. And every time you hit both of them, you're always fresh. So it's easier to like always be at your best condition to improve. So I think that's definitely a good point for sure. Of just understanding like, hey, you can prioritize different things, especially your arms, right? If your arms are lacking, then you probably should just put them higher up in your workout. Or like you said, even just dedicating a whole day to arms can be very helpful too. So, but yeah, I feel we covered a lot of stuff. The only other thing I thought would be cool to talk about is like the idea of like mentorships, because obviously we both joined a mentorship and I think it really helps both of us for sure. So how has, you know, doing a mentorship, especially with like fitness coaching, how has that like changed you in any way? And would you recommend people to do, you know, mentorships like that, if that kind of makes sense?
Yeah, 100%. I think kind of like what you said earlier on, and learning from people. A lot of people don't have the people around them that's hitting the goals they want to hit. And like for somebody that wants to get in shape, but nobody around them in their lives are in shape, and they can't go to anyone and ask for advice, because I mean, you hear it all the time. You are the sum of the five people you're around. So if nobody's in shape around you and you grow up that way, it's really easy to fall into that trap. And coaching and mentorship is a super easy and convenient way that we have access to nowadays to be able to resonate with somebody and be able to learn from somebody in the shoes that you want to be in. And they've been through all the struggles that you're currently going through. And that's going to definitely speed up your progress on whether it's business coaching, fitness coaching, learning from people that's in the shoes that you want to be in. That's the best way to learn and progress in whatever you're trying to work on.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. And yeah, for those of you watching, you know, me and Jack actually met through a business mentorship. Obviously, a lot of it's virtual, but if anything, doing that, making that decision to invest into a mentorship, invest in myself and my skills was one of the most impactful things I've done, because it really just like not only gave me all the information to apply myself, but it saved me a lot of time because it could have taken me years to figure it out on my own. And even just the idea of like having some sort of community involved, you know, that's why I kind of like the fitness coaching, having a coaching group is super cool because like Jack said, like you could be living with, you know, people who aren't into fitness. Maybe everyone you see when you go to work aren't into fitness. It's easy to kind of get complacent. But if you're around people who are locked in on the same, you know, hitting the same goals as you, you're doing like weekly Zoom calls and everyone's locked in it's easier to like push yourself more to improve and do better things for yourself. So that's definitely one thing of just like, not everyone has a good environment. Some people have a toxic environment, but doing something like that where you have even just a mentor like holding you to your highest self. And if you have the community, that's even better. But that's definitely been a super transformative thing. If anything, it just has inspired me a lot to like really be the best version of myself too. I'm sure obviously it has with you too. And that it's not even just the fitness, right? It's like understanding like, all right, let's solve fitness, but like, let's solve other things. Let's get better at skills. I never used to be a reader and now I'm reading all these books because Zach, our mentor, got me into it. Like I wouldn't have ever done that sort of thing, but it's just super cool to like be around people who are above you, teaching you how to get to their level, So yeah, that's awesome, man. I think that's a pretty sick conversation. Anything else you want to tell the people, or do you feel like that's
Yeah, nothing off the top of my head. I feel like we went over a lot of solid advice and info that people can use on the day to day. I think the biggest thing is that last thing is just 1% better every day. That's really, at least you can get that 1% every day and not get down on yourself because you're not perfect and you're not hitting every single thing you could be doing. But as long as you're just chipping away at your goals each day, you're gonna be in a good spot.
always trying to level up, get 1% better? That's the way to go. So I guess for those of you watching, so Jack will be working with a lot of you new guys who join the program. I will be working with myself or Jack. So super, pumped to take on some more guys, get some great transformations. And if any of you are interested in getting on a better routine, having more structure, accountability, having that whole group that we talked about, I will put a link in the description where you can book, a free call with myself. I'll tell you about kind of how the process works, see if you're a good fit, and hopefully we can crush our fitness goals. So appreciate you guys for watching. I guess, where can people find you social media wise?
Social media wise, my Instagram handle is Jack McDevitt Fit, and my TikTok is Jack McDevitt, and same thing with YouTube is Jack McDevitt Fit. So DMs are open. You can message me with any questions. I'm always answering.
Awesome, guys. Go and give the man a follow. And for the rest of you, I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.